after 12 years of service, Wayne Rooney is getting a testimonial for Man United.
How whimsical.
How whimsical.
How whimsical indeed.
Right. Oh. Has he got better looking?
Pass.
Yeah, not saying he's good looking. Has he got better looking?
He looks more like a celebrity now, doesn't he? Do you remember when he first signed, he still looked young, his skin wasn't as glowing?
Why are we talking about that?
I don't know. When I looked at young Wayne Rooney over there, I thought, has he got better looking? I'd say he probably has. I don't think he's good looking. I think he's got.
He's in his prime. He's in his prime, isn't he? He's sort of like his man prime. He's in that area
now.
Yeah.
This is the worst conversation we've ever had on Social Club.
More importantly,
mate.
Wayne Rooney, let's have a look at his career. Let's have a chat about that. Has he had a decent one? Where does he rank amongst those Man United legends?
Not very highly in my personal books, just because of what happened with the whole contract. And
maybe think that Sam's got like a book.
Yeah.
No, he was the only player. He was the only player to break Fergie, and I really regret.
What does that mean?
Yapstam.
Just in terms of him. Fergie was a man who was stuck by his guns. That's why Yapstam left. That's why Beckham left. That's why so many players left the club. He changed himself for Rooney, just to keep him at the club. And he gave out. Did you see the press conference he did after he announced? Rooney said, "I'm not staying," and then Fergie did a press conference straight after, and he looked broken, and because he bent his ways, and it's the same reasons that Pogba left, and why we're about to pay 100 million for him, because he stuck by his guns, but he didn't stick by his guns with Rooney, and now Rooney stayed at the club, and for me
wouldn't he?
I don't know.
So I don't believe that. I just don't see why would he not stick by his guns with Rooney? I feel like there was more of a Glazer problem there than there was a Sir Alex.
There may have been some powers that be, because Rooney at that time was, I think, one of the most marketable players in the world. He kind of still is. So from that, he's been a legend in that sense. But he's 2 or 3 goals away from Bobby Charlton's.
Yeah, 245 goals in 520 games for United, which is brilliant.
But for me, he couldn't be further away from Bobby Charlton. In terms of the upper echelons of Man United legends.
Well, in terms of respect within the game, I don't know how much respect there is for Wayne, because his representation has always been known as. Can you say show?
No.
I think you just did.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to beat that out. You're going to beat that out. His agent's always been somewhat of a character.
What's the point now? Why not say it now when you've just said it?
No, I mean, his agent always has been a bit of a character. I think, when people say sort of judge a man by the company that he keeps, and
Paul Stretford is a piece of work.
Yeah,
but I mean, getting away from that on the pitch, does he get the respect he deserves? He's had a superb career.
Who disrespects him?
I think a lot of people put him alongside Ronaldo because they kind of came together at the same time. We were expecting him to be this uber world class player, and he hasn't hit that height, but his numbers are pretty awesome. He's still a super player, although you think he lost it about 3 years ago.
If it was, I suppose it's basically since Ronaldo left, everybody expected Rooney to just go, all right, I'm going to fill his boots, and for a little bit of a time he did, but then I think he's only scored 30 plus goals once in the last 5 years, something like that. He's not the striker he once was. He's lost a couple of yards. And Rooney was always that electric, exciting youngster that was on the edge of getting a yellow card the whole game. That's just how he played.
He's kind of like the older, because he's 30, right?
30, yeah.
30 isn't, I mean, you're kind of just on your peak or just past your peak. So
he peaked years ago.
But was it his injuries? Because he's slowly been moved further and further back.
Yeah, but he won't play there anymore. He won't play 6 or 8.
Yeah, so no, he's going to play 10, 9.
But someone like Mourinho is a cutthroat manager, we know that. He wants him there and he wants him as a striker, so how can he be past his peak?
He's a fan of Rooney.
He tried to sign him for Chelsea. He's obviously going to play him, but I don't know where he fits into that Man United side. He's not going to start. He's not a starting striker anymore. He's not starting number 10, and he's certainly not a starting.
Are you going to go to his testimonial?
Absolutely not.
Why?
There'll be a load of good players there.
It's not, but
testimonials are awful.
What?
Awful. Testimonials to sit there and you don't enjoy watching a testimonial.
Why? No, hang on.
Have testimonials lost their polish a little bit? Because now
it's not the same as it used to be, is it?
No, because 1.7 million is the average wage for a Premier League player now, so they don't need the money.
No,
that's for sure.
Well, the sentiment behind testimonials was pure before. It was worthwhile. Players didn't earn a great deal of money. Here's a send off. Thanks for your service at the club. There were much more one club men then. 10 years wasn't that rare,
Can it not even be even purer now because it's not about the money? Although in the lower leagues, these players still need that.
No, but what I'm saying
cash.
is that there was a connection between the fans and the players so that there was an outpouring of emotion because you loved and respected that player because they'd given so much for your club, usually injuries. This different type of game than it was back then, and it was worthwhile. Now, I have zero connection with any of the players on the pitch really. The only time the Ledley King testimonial at Spurs was the greatest night at White Hart Lane ever because of the injuries he'd gone through. His knees were smashed to bits, and he's played for us his entire career.
Why was it amazing?
But I don't
know about the Ledley King testimonial, so why?
But Danny Rose has been mooted that Danny Rose will get a testimonial next year, and you're like, why? Well, indeed, 10 years. It's not the same thing. The Ledley King thing was it was an amazing night. Yeah. The atmosphere was incredible. I think we'd gone through a massive transitional stage. We'd been through Sherwood and AVB, and sentiment was quite poisonous. The atmosphere was quite poisonous at White Hart Lane at the time. And then there was just this moment to just forget it all and just support a player that's given his all for the club.
And during those times.
Yeah, and if you're in that position where everything came together, it's like a melting pot of emotion. And it was just a positive experience. Tony Hibbert Everton.
So for that reason in itself, they still have a place. It's
for the right
very
player.
important for the right person. Yeah,
I think Jamie Carragher leaving Liverpool was one of those.
Yeah.
Steven Gerrard's very similar. I think if the players have a close position to the club, then I think so. Especially with the local fans. You probably say the same about all the class of '96, all those guys, right?
Yeah, 92.
92.
Yeah.
96 was Liverpool's last. And then there's some other foreign players who come in and they make a connection with the city. Sami Hyypiä was at Liverpool. That's the only one that I can really think of for
10 years. Yeah,
them because they're there. Even and sometimes you sort of think if a player's there, you feel a little bit sorry if a player leaves at 9 years. You know, didn't John O'Shea get a Manchester United testimonial?
No.
Do you know a really funny one? I remember watching it was on telly. It was Martin Keown.
Did he?
And they were doing like interviews with players who were taking part in the testimonial and talking about him, and they were all like, fierce competitor. No one really liked him.
No one knows what to say.
No one really liked him because he was a horrible player to play against, or essentially play with, because you had to look at him.
But is it like the next generation of testimonials now is things like One More Game for Ian Wright, when people get to have an experience alongside Ian, and those there's things are going to move forward because the game's moved forward in a way. And there are some lovely stories about testimonials back in the 60s when people had a connection with that player and when the players could joke around and those sort of things and not just be completely taken apart in the press.
And I guess the need for that money makes a difference as well. Do you know what I mean? You'll go, I have to go, I've got to go because I won't get the opportunity to give my bit to...
But money is a very crude way of putting it, but I suppose that money can now go to charity or all those kind of things.
Well,
so there is still quite nice.
Now, back then, those players needed that for their retirement.
Yeah.
So I guess getting back to Wayne Rooney and his testimonial, will there be a lot of people there who don't have a very strong connection with him?
There might be a wet eye in the house.
Exactly what Flav's describing of why Ledley King's testimonial was good is exactly why Wayne Rooney's is just going to be like just a charity game that's being played in Old Trafford. That's it. I don't have that connection with Wayne Rooney.
So you're saying he hasn't worked hard for your club?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I don't get it. So where's the
I'm told he tried to force his way out of the club, and he got more money and he stayed. And for me, that polluted my thought of Wayne Rooney and what his desire to be at Man United was. Prior to that, he was just a schoolboy, came from Everton, wonderful footballer to watch. He was so exciting. But from that point onwards, and it's from that point onwards where Rooney's gone downhill as well. If he got that money and then started scoring 50 goals a season, you'd say, well, that was worth it.
He earned it, yeah.
But he hasn't.
Is there also just a giant elephant in the room that Rooney was bought because he was what Manchester United thought was a great marketable asset, and ultimately he is at odds with a lot of what Manchester United want to represent and have said they represented down the years. Bought from another club, developed by another club, not least in Liverpool. He's a Scouser and he still admits that his kids support a team in Liverpool. He doesn't really represent what the club represent on the pitch. He's not really got that closer relationship to someone like Neville or Beckham or any of those sort of guys.
Not at all.
It's sort of like, well, you know what? There's a reason he's not a Manchester United legend, is because he's been forced into that position. Because people are like, well, of course he's going to be a legend. He's amazing.
Yeah.
You'd almost think he was more of a legend if he'd been at or stayed at Everton.
I wouldn't say there's any sort of resentment towards Rooney as such. Up until the point where this whole contract thing comes into it. Yes, we bought him from he is a Scouse, and I do agree with some of the points you made there about slightly against the sort of ethos and the philosophy that United have built themselves on. But if a player plays good for your team, you like him?
Yeah, there is that. But I'm actually saying that there are players that play brilliantly for Spurs, but are less fondly thought of than lesser players. Like Stefan Freund is probably among the worst midfielders I've ever seen at Spurs. He was all right. But Modric, one of the best footballers I've ever seen with my own eyes, because of the way he acted to get out of the club to try and force a move to Chelsea. You know, he's kind of hated by some. Yeah. And Rooney, look, off the pitch, there's a couple of incidents that it doesn't immediately think, oh, what a man.
But that does summarise the club overall in a way, doesn't it? Because, you know, they've had a few of those down the years.
Yeah, so there's two things. There's the incident with the granny, and there's the alleged incident, and then there's the whinging about England fans booing a terrible performance by England down the lens. You're showing a lack of understanding, a lack of empathy to the fact that fans have travelled halfway across Europe to watch you play. And you might be right or wrong, but the thing is those little things stick in your head, and it affects how sentimental you get about a player's career.
Yeah. So let's know what you think about Wayne Rooney. Where does he rank amongst Man United legends? Where does he rank amongst England legends? Where does he rank on the world football stage? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and check out all the other Social Club videos, and make sure you subscribe.